Yo, what's poppin', everybody? How y'all doing out there today? Welcome back to the podcast, another episode of Caffeine and Green with your man, Conor Cardenas. And before we get into it today, man, I just want to give a huge shout out to the title sponsor of Caffeine and Green, which is 7 Seas Roasting Company, coming straight out of San Diego, my home roaster. Now, what makes this roastery so sick is that we get to work with these farmers. We're not just getting these coffees, we're working with them directly and making sure that everybody's taken care of. So we're not taking care of just the consumer, we're taking care of that farmer as well. So it's really awesome. We get to showcase these coffees. Now, full transparency, I am the head roaster at 7 Seas. But regardless, you know that the coffee that I'm giving you is straight fire, yo. So if you head over to the website, 7seasroasting.com, use my code C&G at checkout, you're going to get 3 bags of coffee for $30. That's an amazing deal because 2 bags of coffee is essentially $32. So you're getting a bag for free. It's a no-brainer. So you can go over to the website, choose from any of the coffees that we have, like our dark Guatemala, which is chocolatey and it's full-bodied and it's a little bit of our dark roast. And, you know, it's just, we have other options. We have a Peruvian, we have our Lao coffees, the Fodom Quan, our new Lao, and Setapung as well. So we got options, people. So use that coffee code C&G at checkout, and you'll be good. My guest today, Bryan Gray. He's a homie of mine that I met through floating sensory deprivation tanks, as you guys have heard me talk about before on the podcast. It was a really fun conversation. We got in depth about psychedelics, about healing elements of floating, and what it's done for me and for him, and it definitely got a little bit out there. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I really hope you guys enjoyed as well. Bryan Gray, this your time to shine, homie. Let's go. Caffeine and Green. It's your boy Conor. What's good? Good. Caffeine and Green. And we are live.
Hello.
Bryan.
Hola.
What's your last name?
Gray.
Bryan Gray. Welcome to Caffeine and Green, sir.
Thank you, brother.
That's how I start it. I always cheers.
Cheers.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah, fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Very
Dude,
nice.
Today, I'm really excited about our podcast. And right, we were talking about it right before. I knew today was going to be exciting for the standpoint that I have a lot of thoughts, and I'm sure I've talked about it before. Some of my thoughts are kind of out there. But I know that when we met at the float tank place, Float North County, we would get into some sick combos about like experiences and energies and other shit that would happen in the float tank. And so I was like, oh, dude, Today you're coming.
Nice.
I want to throw some shit out there.
For sure, man. I will take any platform I can get to talk about floating. And the float tank, certainly for myself, has been the best thing I've ever done.
Yes.
Physically and mentally for my own health. And I'm kind of like, it's probably the closest thing I have to a religion. But I like it because it's completely free of like dogma and no one's telling you how to think or what to do or anything like that. And so anytime I can get a chance to talk about it to the largest audience possible, I will take it. So thanks for having me on.
Dude, fuck yeah. Of course. I mean, so we met, maybe it had to have been 2016, I would assume. So yeah, 3 years.
Okay.
Known you about 3 years now.
Yeah.
And we met at Float North County.
Mm-hmm.
You were the dude working there. You helped open it up. I was one of the first customers or something, right?
Glenn ran it for like at least six, maybe 10 months by himself.
Okay.
Yeah, which is like beast mode.
Super.
It's like a lot of work. So I don't know when people do that. And then he got it to a point where he could bring me down. So I think I got into it. I don't think it was a year because I was there for the first year celebration. So yeah, he probably done it like 6 to 10 months by himself. And then I came down that December. It would have been 2015, I think. So I met you in 2016. Yeah. And then for a while, it was just me and Glenn. And they brought other people in. So, yeah, I was kind of the dude running it. People would ask me all the time, like, oh, you on this place? And I go, yeah, I might as well.
Yeah.
Here all the time. So it was cool, man. Yeah.
Dude, that was before you had the infrared sauna.
Dude, that
infrared sauna was mean.
Did you do the combo?
Oh,
you did?
Hell yeah, I did it.
Okay.
Dude, it was tough, though, because you start with the half hour in the sauna, and then you do the hour in the float.
Yeah.
But I don't want to go in all sweaty, so I just, like, rinse off. But it was like you didn't want to lose that body heat.
Oh,
So,
really?
like,
Oh.
I think you told me that though.
No,
You're
I
like,
definitely did not tell you that.
No?
No, I would. In fact, I like to lose the body heat a little bit. But if
Okay.
that's what, to each his own. So
It's like try to stay as close to body, like, or like.
no,
room
no,
temp
no,
or
no,
whatever.
no. What I told you is like from wherever you get the sauna, get into a tank as quick as possible.
Okay, maybe that's what
Yeah,
it was.
but I didn't mean like you gotta be hot, like because
Okay.
I've taken a sauna and then floated like an hour later and still had a same kind of combo vibe.
Dude,
Yeah.
that as soon as I got out of that float, after that sauna too,
Yeah.
bro, straight relax.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
It's unreal. You come home and you
yeah.
lay down, and it's seriously like
Yeah,
it's like you've never laid down on a fucking couch before, and
Yeah, I
you're just
know.
like extra comfy.
turns everything into clouds. Yeah.
Son. And if you smoke just like a little bit afterwards, I mean,
Yeah,
you might
yeah.
not even need to because you're so like body high.
Yeah, yeah.
Yo.
I know, I like it, and it changes the float experience for me too. Like, one, I feel like if I do a sauna first, I don't have to float as long to get what I want out of it or to feel like I'm done. And then when I get out, I find that my energy is like much higher. So I think for me, my crackpot theory is that you sort of, when you get out of the sauna, you've been baked. So you just have this dip in your energy. And if you harness that and get into a tank, you're already ready to chill. So you hit the theta state faster. And then you don't need to be in there as long because you've already kind of been dipping into theta, probably in the sauna if you're sitting there like meditating or something, or just chilling. I just lay down in there sometimes, or I liked actually.
You lay down in the sauna?
I would sometimes. I do it in bigger ones for sure.
Yeah, because that one's tiny.
Yeah, that
I
one
would
is
like
small.
definitely lean up against the wall,
Totally, yeah.
or I'd sit cross-legged.
Yeah. Those are
Yeah.
all good. My favorite thing to do was to turn off all the lights and get the overhead to cycle through all the colors, and then I would before I do it as hot as I could take it, and I'd usually like smoke a bowl before I went in.
Yep.
And then you just catch your reflection in the mirror and with all the colors changing, and I felt like I was in a I called it my alien sweat lodge, and I'd listen to this one like frequency type of music, like some weird shit by Stephen Halpern or one of these guys.
That's
yeah.
what you gave me that shit. You told me to
I
listen
did?
to him like
Oh, I
some
did?
meditation music or some shit. Dude, it was good.
It is good.
It is.
Good. Yeah.
It was like some brainwave shit.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, all right.
If you do it in that combo too, and with that setting, and you catch your reflection, you start to look real weird.
Dude, I didn't do
it feels
that.
Good, yeah.
I definitely didn't do that, but I definitely listened to the tunes and meditated for sure.
That's VIP, dude. You gotta subscribe to my program
Bro.
to get these tips.
I would sit there and I legit would feel my body loosening, like sitting cross-legged and then just listening to the music and just meditating and breathing.
Totally.
I could feel my hips just like
Yep.
loosen.
And that's how I get in the float tank too. If you stay really still, you can feel that. So it's similar. It's like infrared sauna is a really good, like cheap substitute for a float for me.
Well, you think about it too, like the heat shock proteins, that it's like
Yeah,
your
yeah.
body's stressing, so it's
Totally.
actually kind of helping you more health-wise.
Yeah, it probably is. Yeah.
Dude.
And I guess that would be like, do the heat shock proteins help you more than whatever benefits you get from the theta brainwave?
What is a theta brainwave for somebody who doesn't know
a
that?
theta brainwave is a wave that we pass through on our way to sleep and on our way back up.
Okay.
And it's just a real slow brainwave. It's associated with a lot of different things like lucid dreaming. Really heavy meditators hit theta. They say when athletes are in the zone, right? They're in like when Jordan's got a flu or whatever and he's hitting every 3-pointer.
Yeah.
That you access theta that way. And I'm sure just like in fight or flight modes, you access theta
More
wave.
of a flow state.
Exactly. It's exactly what it is. It's a flow state. And,
Like if you're skating, you're killing it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. And so a lot of people are familiar with this state. And float tank more or less induces it. It just takes some time. So some people, they get it right away. I have people who come out of their first float and they're like, I saw a tree grow out of my stomach, or there's this one dude who used to come to Float North County who was awesome. He used to follow the Dead around when he was
the Dead?
Yeah.
Like the band?
The Grateful Dead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what?
Yeah. He was like a zombie chaser. Yeah.
What type of shit are you talking about right now?
You never know, dude. We get clients. This guy, he was kind of a trippier dude. But now I didn't know that at first. He was like real corporate guy. To me, he seemed like a real straight-laced dude. And he would go in there and he'd tell me he'd see Aurora Borealis. And one time, like a mothership came, beamed him up, and all kinds of fun stuff that I'm super jealous of.
What?
Yeah, like some people have really visual experiences, and that's part of the theta brainwave.
Okay.
It's just some more people are prone to that. I've had some open eye hallucinations, which are awesome, but they happen to me less frequently since I got hit by a car.
Wait.
Yeah.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
Like, rewind that back real quick.
Yeah.
open-eyed illusions?
Hallucinations,
Do you mean, like in the float
in
tank?
the float tank.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I
Yeah,
was about
yeah.
to be like, in real life?
Yeah,
Wait,
yeah, sorry,
okay.
yeah. Yeah, I think most of the crazy shit you can assume that I talk about, you can assume happens to me in the tank.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, whoa, bro, you're about to be on a null.
Yeah, dude,
level.
I'm just on the 805 and there's,
I see some shit, bro.
there's fucking pink elephants everywhere. Now so the theta brainwave comes with a host of benefits like that. It works across both of your hemispheres, and it will slow down your left brain, your logical brain, and increase the activity in your right brain to kind of level them out. So you have a little bit more access to your abstract thinking, which I think is really evident with anyone who meditates. At least the stereotype anyway is to think of like big thoughts. They're out here trying to solve world peace and get to the center of become enlightened, which you would assume is like large level thinking, right? And very abstract. So that's another thing that the theta wave will do to you in the flow tank. And that's certainly true for me. I really have like, I'll have like thoughts literally just float into my head. It'll be like, oh, why do I behave that way? Oh shit, this is like a cycle of mine, Why am I repeating this behavior when it's not helping me at all? And you get to look at it objectively. And I think this is a part of being alone with yourself and in that particular state of mind that just like gives you insight on things like that.
Would you say that's more of setting an intention?
No,
You just go in there or like try to clear your mind completely, or you don't go in with setting an intention?
I don't try to do anything. Okay. Every time and some people do in the tank. Some people are really good at trying and succeeding at doing something. I'm just not that guy. The analogy I've been using lately is I feel like it's like when I take my dog for a walk. It's like dude's been inside all day. He gets an hour outside, This is his time. So in the float tank, I just let my mind do what it wants. It's like on a walk. So,
Damn.
So I just let it wander around. And sometimes that can be frustrating.
That's pretty sick.
Yeah, sometimes that can be frustrating, right? And you just like, I don't know, something's bugging you or whatever. But more often I find that it either wears itself out and I just, go somewhere else. I sleep, or it's not really sleep, but and more on that later maybe. But it either like wears itself out or it settles on something that I go, oh, this must be important. And then I can like get a bird's eye view on it, and that happens to me with just letting it go and wandering around. It doesn't happen all the time maybe, but I've been doing this for a while, so it happens mostly all the time now.
Starting to see this alive shit through the bird view.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what Nipsey Hussle said.
Yeah, see?
Dude, I think I have to completely agree. I mean, for me, when I was in the float tank, I started like to unwind essentially. My body, I remember I would come out and I'd be like, bro, my body like gyrates.
Oh, yeah.
When I was like unwinding from my injury and stuff. And once I finally made it through those couple months where my body like legit would just be popping like crazy.
It's so rad.
It was nuts,
I love
bro.
that. Yeah.
And once I got through that and it was more about just like meditating and keeping your mind clear and like really quieting the mind in a sense. Dude, I would have some of the craziest experiences in there.
Yeah.
Just, I don't know, shit you could just like visualize.
Yeah?
Like
what?
Dude, everything, bro.
What do you mean?
I would set intentions when I would go in there.
Okay.
And then at the same time, I would just let my mind go. So I'd have like thoughts. But then at the same time, I would meditate and put shit out there. Oh. And then kind of try to visualize it.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. So you're actively trying to visualize. And do you find if you keep your eyes open in the dark, you can create like the visualization better? Or were you just doing it with your eyes closed?
Both. I mean, I would definitely be eyes closed, but I would also sometimes I would just be like, I wouldn't even close my eyes. I'd just sit there and
you just kind of don't know when they're open or closed eventually.
Dude, yeah.
I remember that when I first started floating, one of the really enlightening moments for me was when the first time I lost complete track of my body and I was experiencing myself. I was very aware of being just thoughts. I was like, whoa, I didn't feel my body at all. And that blew my mind. And I was like, whoa. And I feel like it was that part that you get in touch with that part of you that might be intangible or better yet, like infinite.
Like the body doesn't matter because maybe you're just energy.
Right.
And
exactly.
This is what it's going to feel like if you can't see your body anyways.
Yeah, totally. Like to experience yourself without the body, I think is really like an ego destroyer, Dude, and then it's like, oh, well, what am I if I can be just thoughts and have more or less the same experience,
It's a trip when you're in the big ones and you start
Oh, yeah,
spinning
yeah.
360 and you legit don't even know where the fuck you are. You're just like, what? It's like, whew.
Yeah, but that doesn't still happen to you, does it?
Dude, I mean,
Sometimes?
not all the time. And when I got in the big one, because they have a new big one at Float.
Yeah. The double wide, dude.
Dude, the double wide is legit. The last one though I did, I just was like chilling.
Yeah, totally.
But my body's like unwound now, so that never happens. But my mind will go some crazy places.
Yeah. I think when you hit that point when your body actually unwinds. Sorry, I'm chewing ice.
It's all good.
Then that is the reverse has happened to me. When I first started floating, I had I didn't even realize I had all these like tension issues.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember the very first time I felt like I called it my like championship belt of tension across my waist. And when I got in the water and I felt that low gravity, it literally felt like a fucking WWF belt, you know, like.
You
like,
could just know where you were carrying shit on
your
your
body. Yeah, it just felt really tense there. And I was like,
you're
what?
Stressed?
Yeah, and I was like, what's going on? And then eventually I started unwinding and you more or less pop loose in there.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome. And then I also didn't realize I had this issue. Well, I think I had realized it, but I was probably in denial because I was young. I got started when I was 26, so this is probably when I'm...
How old are you now?
36. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, right? Look at all these grays, bro.
Dude.
I'm fucking sophisticated. Yeah. Yeah, I had this thing happen to me. I started unwinding, like you were saying, like more or less pop loose. And then I had this one instance where I was like having a dream and I saw a big iceberg. And it was more or less a triangle iceberg, but it had another sideways triangle coming out, like a jagged little peak.
Okay.
And I saw that peak cleave off. And when it hit the water, something in my shoulder popped. And it threw all this water forward and it splashed all over my face. I had no idea where I was. I'm like, why am I wet?
Salt water got in your fucking... Dude.
It splashed all over me.
Oh, my God.
You know, and I'm like, I had no idea where I was or why I was wet, you know, and I was having this dream. It took me a while to figure out what had happened. But after that, I had this issue. Basically, before that, I had this issue where I felt like my right arm was flexing all the time. And then what had happened was a knot under my shoulder blade popped loose. And suddenly my arm was like unwinding. And so pretty shortly after that, I still kind of have the issue. So it must have been a really bad one because it's taken me 10 years. Although I got hit by a car, so it might have re-injured it or something. But you know what I mean? So I was like, I started to feel my arm again, you know, and like it wasn't flexing and I had more mobility in my fingers and things like that. I was going through a jazz program. So I think I was like practicing and stressing about practicing and having like really poor piano posture. And floating made me aware of all this stuff, you know. But that was so weird that this dream basically caused a physical reaction in me. And that happens to me. Like, I love the surrealness of it. And I love when it happens because you know that you're, like, physically improving. You know what I mean? Like,
I get it.
Yeah, like you had the injury and you could feel it. You're like, oh, this is how it's supposed to feel.
I would lie there and I would like start to kind of not doze off, but maybe get into that flow state, that theta state.
Yeah.
And my fucking pelvis would just, boosh, it would just like in the water, just, and it would like, it would like shoot forward. And then my back would just like, boom. I would like,
totally.
Like a cat in fucking
cat cow.
Yeah. It was like basically cat cowing super violent.
Wow.
It was fucked up, dude.
I'm like splashing around in there.
Yeah, dude, I'm not even kidding. And one time I just waited with my eyes open and my body did it regardless. I was like, is this me doing it or is this my body just unwinding? And I'm like, bro, I'm not doing any of this.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
I would hear it. My hip would actually pop.
Yeah,
because I fucked up my iliac crest, so it popped out, and then basically when my muscles were stretched out for as long as they were, it created all these knots.
Oh.
So it was like constant pain.
Wow.
Always stressing, and then when I finally got into floating, that's when it started to like.
Really, and you don't feel it anymore?
I mean, I can get maybe like an hour or two. Now it's like up to 2 hours of skating in before it starts to hurt. But
okay.
The muscles will start getting tight. And
okay.
I have to stop.
Okay, yeah. Saunas will probably help that. So cryo maybe.
Dude, but that's with fucking sauna. Sauna's been the best, especially training for running and stuff.
Ah, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
But one thing I wanted to ask you about, so it's like you're not from San Diego. You're from Portland, right?
No. I have a Portland area code. I was living there for 5 years when I got into floating. And so I just kept that number. I'm from Costa Mesa.
Oh.
Yeah.
Orange County or just Costa Mesa?
Orange County. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
Costa Mesa. Yeah.
So you were born here, and then how'd you end up in Portland?
I just decided to go. I lived in Newport for a long time, like Newport, Costa Mesa. I went to school at Corona del Mar. So I lived over there for a long time. And when I got in my early 20s, it didn't feel like the place for me. And for me, it was kind of interesting because I felt like I didn't know what to do, but I was stuck in a place I didn't like, in Newport. And my buddy, best friend, Brent, it was his like 24th birthday maybe. So I would have been 23. And we were in Oahu. He was there for an outrigger race or something.
Sick.
And he's really top level outrigger, so he goes all over the place for this. And so I tagged along to Hawaii this year, and then he, for his birthday, he wanted to go skydiving. I didn't want to go skydiving. I was like terrified.
Yeah.
And then it was funny because I was like, well, fuck, I can't not go.
Yeah.
It's
your boy.
Yeah, we've known each other since second grade. I can't be like, hey, have fun.
Yeah.
And so I go, oh. Well, I got super paranoid. And then I was like, who'd you register with or whatever? Who were we going with? And I looked them up and they were like shady as fuck. And then I looked them up. They had like a horrible rating with the Better Business Bureau and shit. And I got paranoid. And I'm like, we're not going with these people. If you want to go. And I made a different appointment with the neighboring people. And then we ended up going skydiving. And there's a moment at the top when you're looking down and all I saw was clouds. And I knew real fear. I was like, whoa, this is what real fear is, and you're strapped to a dude who's going out.
Oh yeah. No, it's like you're going regardless.
Yeah. And then as soon as you leave the plane, it was just like nothing but joy for me. It was like so euphoric,
Euphoric.
And then, yeah, it was like, you're flying, dude. It's like, oh, this is what flying is like. It was so awesome. It went from being like the craziest, gnarliest, scared moment that I'd had to being the most fun, in a blink of an eye. It was crazy. So when we hit the ground, I realized that a lot of my nervousness and feeling trapped was my own fear. Mm-hmm. And that now that I knew what actual fear was, I could get rid of all these stupid things I was causing myself.
Oh, so it was something that improved your life.
Yeah, totally.
Damn.
And so then I moved to LA and I lived there for a year. And then I moved to Portland and I lived up there for 5.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's why I have the Portland area code. And a lot of people just assume, I'm sure it rubbed off on me. Yeah.
And so who was the spot that changed your mind, the float tank spot?
Well, it's called Float On. I still work for them.
Okay.
Yeah. Float On was like the first one in Portland, and a group of young guys. I think I was older than some of the owners. I think when the Ashcon might have been like 22 when they opened this place up.
22 years old?
Yeah.
Whoa.
And so they were young guys, and I just kind of fell in with them. But I'd heard about them because a dude I work with, this guy Pete, and I wish I could like conjure up Pete or something because he had a way of talking that was just so weird and entertaining, Mm-hmm. But he was talking to me about float tanks, and he was like, "Dude, it's the most psychedelic experience, ego death and fucking transcendence, like whatever." He had this way, and he was a philosophy major, so
of course
he had this like I don't know, this Frasier way of speaking about it. And it was super fascinating. And so I eventually he was just doing it at a guy's house, a buddy of his. So I called this guy, Christopher, and he goes, "Oh, well, catch me in a little bit. I actually broke the tank down and we're going to open up a retail store." And so a little while later, I walked past that retail store and I go, "Oh shit, I'll try this out," And then I did it once. I was actually really bored my first time. I kind of like drifted in and out. And then, I remember like being awake and seeing like a green ball about the size of my fist just go past, and I knew my eyes were open and I knew I wasn't high or anything.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, that's weird, but whatever. And then, and then I would drift out and back in and then I'd be like, oh, I'm in this tank. Okay. And then eventually I came to and I was like bored as hell. I'm like, I got shit to do. I was going to college. What am I doing in this bath? And I'm like, whatever. I paid for this. So let's just wait it out. And then very quickly after that, the music came on and I sank in and I didn't want to leave. I was like, oh, I found that sort of feeling. A dude recently told me it feels like you're floating on Jello, like you're laying in Jello. Yeah, which I thought was good. So I felt that. And then when I got out of the tank, it was the first and only time in my life that I felt like the ground was actually holding me up, and I was like weightless on my feet and it was like mind blowing. And then I was like, oh my God, what did I just do? This feels amazing. And it stuck with me for like maybe a day and a half.
Oh, wow. Really?
Yeah. And then I didn't go back for like 6 months.
I could see that.
Yeah. And so then when I went back though, they had like a volunteer program or something. I was basically able to do like a few, like 3 and 5 days. And then I got hooked. I just kind of never looked back.
Yeah.
I was like, it was a habit I can't afford. So,
yeah, totally understandable.
Yeah. And I feel like for me, what I would like most to do with the float tank industry is find a way to bring it to the people. You know?
Yeah, I mean, let's get into that too. Let's talk about what you, we were talking the other day when you came to the coffee shop. We were talking about the business that you essentially want to start. Do you want to talk about that?
I can talk about it a little. I think it's not really well formed.
Okay.
And basically what I think is the float, I think like float tank people, like float tank businesses, they don't need a business consultant anymore. There's plenty, no one really knows what they're doing. You know, it's all like our best efforts that's happening like collaboratively. And we're getting really good. Everyone's getting really good at running floats and building these places out and making them durable. But there's like a lot of glass ceilings and there's tons of people working on these issues, right? But all these places are struggling to get people in the doors. So what I think the float world needs is a customer consultant, you know? And essentially the way I can do that is by being like a popular guy, you know, like just being like a podcaster on YouTube, you know, going out and doing creative things involving floating. So basically I'm just looking to collaborate with anyone and everyone and see if I can get float centers to let us do stuff at their place, you know? So I got a gig coming up that I'm hoping I can pull off where I'm basically going to have 4 of my buddies float with me. And before we go float, we'll have set up all our music gear. And then we're going to get out and improv a song, you know, and just do and document the experience and just talk about it and put it out there, you know?
So you're going to float first and then...
Let's see what we can write.
Interesting.
Yeah. So
and
just...
what instrument are you going to play?
I play keyboard.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but I got a drummer friend, a bass player friend, guitar friend, and we just get together periodically and jam, so we know how to play with each other.
Okay, so yeah, this is like an already, you know how to play with each other.
Yeah. I want to give I have a lot of ideas about what floating can do for people, and so I think for one, I think it can give musicians perfect pitch based on experiences that I've had, and I can talk more about that in a second because I'll just finish up this project. So I'm trying to get musicians involved in floating some way, right? And these guys, we can play together. And we know each other, and we're all cool with each other. So there's no weird vibe. The weird vibe will be being in this weird float center in the, you know, in a mall, basically. But we're there after hours or whatever. And then we're just going to jam and see what we can create. So I'm trying to give us a leg up to get to test it out, you know? Right? Yeah. So
that's such an interesting concept.
Yeah. So I think, you know, what's going on right now with float centers is that the people who are coming are having a really good time, but they don't quite realize how beneficial this is as a practice. It's probably like yoga was in the 80s.
So you don't think people are realizing the health benefits to your body by doing this? They think what are you implying that it's more of a glamour thing or something like that?
No,
or
I'm
like trendy?
No, I'm just implying that people are not coming back like I didn't come back in 6 months. You know, and they're making this decision to not continue floating because they aren't seeing the benefits, and that's because floating is like very subtly profound. You know, this guy, Peter, he told me I was going to have the most psychedelic experience of my life. And I'm still waiting for that, you know. But the reality is that doing this for the last decade has been the most psychedelic experience of my life, you know, in that you take psychedelics to gain some insight and learn a lesson and bring it back to your regular life. And nothing has done that more for me than float tanks.
Ever?
Never.
You've taken psychedelics, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Dude.
I've taken psychedelics in the float tanks, you know, but just like floating itself.
Yeah,
has done more for me than any of those things. So,
I mean, I would definitely have to agree, but that's also one thing I wanted to get into is your use of psychedelics in the float tank. So tell me about your first experience with it. Was it positive? Was it negative? Was it mushrooms or something?
I've only had positive experiences.
Positive.
Yeah.
And do you take it and then wait till like you're about to like you're feeling it and then you get in the tank?
Yeah, typically.
Do you turn off all the lights and just fucking trip?
Yeah. I mean, I've done it so many times because I've always had access to places after hours, and I've just been an employee or whatever, or no one's around, you know. I don't know how many of the places I've actually done this at would condone it, but I wasn't about to let that stop me.
You don't have to. You don't have to mention.
Yeah, well, I just want to put that out there. You know, I'm pretty sure that the people they would be like, don't just stop doing that. You know.
Yeah.
Whatever. You do it from time to time. So, yeah,
you do it from time to time.
You know, I mean, probably the first thing would be like eating a bunch of weed. You know.
Oh, just like a edible.
Yeah, totally. And I've
done that.
Yeah, and I think like if people come to float centers all the time and they're like, how much weed should I eat? Oh, how fucked up should I get? For whatever.
It's not about getting fucked up. It's about having that, dude. Once you can appreciate, little sidebar. Once you can appreciate the float aspect, taking an edible or smoking super fat and then going in, it just enhances the experience.
Yeah.
I feel like for me,
totally. I smoke almost every time before I go in.
Oh, dude.
Very rarely do I not smoke.
Pretty standard.
Yeah, totally.
Pretty standard. Like at least a little bit.
A little bit.
But
just a little bit.
I would definitely...
Some for my cataracts.
Cigarette? Nothing but a cigarette. A stick of weed! You're tripping. Dude, yeah, actually one time we did smoke. I'm not going to say where we smoked, but we smoked together before. It was like after hours. And we definitely got it in there. That was sick as fuck.
It's fun, yeah. And I like to show people too what it's like to float without a timer. Like a lot of people don't take me up on that, but it's a whole new animal. And so what I was going to say earlier is like you hear a lot of like psychedelic people that just especially on like the float tank subreddit, which you may or may not be aware of.
I'm not.
Yeah, a lot of people are asking like, I've floated a couple times and now I want to take mushrooms, and someone always invariably will be like 5 grams in silent darkness.
No,
and I'm like,
dude.
bro, no, definitely do not do that. Like you shouldn't. I mean,
a couple caps, a couple stems,
dude,
you're fine.
You have to be able to deal with this in an hour. Like, are you crazy taking 5 grams? So thankfully, no one does that. I've never seen anyone come. That's not true.
Somebody would get like trapped.
Bro, they
fucking
like.
Could
you imagine having to deal with me? Like, I'd have to. There's no way you'd take a shower in 15 minutes so I could clean the room. I'd be knocking on the door. It would be stressful. You would not have a good time. I'd be like, bro, are you high, dude? Okay, get your fucking clothes on. There's like a whole room full of people.
Full just like.
You. Yeah, dude, totally. Yeah, dude, put the robe on and some color therapy glasses and just blend in.
You want to go in the sauna?
Yeah, dude, totally. Dude, we're gonna stash you away, Hunter Thompson. Chill out. Yeah, so actually, no, funnily enough, though, I did have these 2 kids come in that were high as a kite. I didn't know. And kudos to them, and I'll tell that story in a little bit. But the point being is that don't get super high before you get in. If you're going to eat an edible, which is probably the most I would ever tell anyone they should even think about trying at a commercial center, you book a longer time. Book yourself like fucking 3-4 hours. You're just going to be happy you did that.
Yeah.
I
would have to agree.
Just don't go in there thinking you're going to come out in an hour acting normal.
Dude, I did 2 hours the most.
2 hours?
In one float, and it was almost too much.
Yeah, some people,
It was almost, but I did it, and by the end, it was in a real way. It was like almost a subtle madness at the end, because I was just like, when is this going to be over? Because like I was used to an hour and a half, but just that extra hour.
Extra half hour?
Or extra half hour, I should say. It started to fuck with me. I don't know. It was weird.
Well, there's a little bit of magic that happens as you push farther. That's why like a lot of places offer an hour, and I would encourage all of them to do 90 minutes.
Oh, always.
Yeah,
always. 90 minutes is way better.
Yeah, because there's this magic that happens when you push past the hour. Some people take 45 minutes just to chill out,
Just to relax. Yeah. I've told many people who, when I've discussed floating about that, I said, hey, the first couple times isn't really going to do much, and it's going to be a little weird. Get to 4, 5, and 6, and it starts to kick in. That's for me.
Yeah.
It took me about like the third one.
Yeah, the third one's typically the charm.
Yeah.
At least you realize like what can go on, and if you do them successively.
Successively?
Is that the word?
Dude, no, you fucking
in succession. Maybe that works. I don't know. In succession, if you do like 3 in 3 days, it'll happen faster because so much of it relies on state of mind recall. So the more you do it, the more your body's like, oh yeah, I know this, and then it just kind of unlocks.
So the really cool thing about it, and I've talked about this before. For me, the first time I met you, the first time I went in, my very first float, Brandon Cooks, the wide receiver from the Los Angeles Rams, was walking out.
Right.
And just met you. And you're like, do you know who that was? And I was like, nah. You're like, it was Brandon Cooks.
Yeah.
And he's like, wide receiver for New Orleans. I was like, oh shit.
Oh yeah.
And then because I knew about floating, about like the Warriors, like Steve Kerr went there.
Sure.
And then I know Steph Curry and like all those dudes were doing it in San Francisco.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh shit, this sounds like this might be the thing.
Oh yeah, I see. Because you're set up, you're already thinking Steph Curry, and then you see the NFL walk out.
Yeah, and I'm like, and then I know Steve Kerr goes there. I'm like, dude, this spot is legit.
Right.
Because dude, there was a point when I was hurt that they were telling me, they're like, dude, if you like, I went to like 6 doctors. When I went to the 6th doctor, they're like, dude, we don't know.
Wow, really?
What's going on with you? And they sent me to the NorCal Spine Institute.
Okay.
They're like, the doctor was real with me. He was all, if they can't find out what's wrong with you, like, dude,
We can't find out either.
yeah,
Wow.
no, he was saying if they can't find out, then there's like nobody above that
The
that's
doctor
gonna
who
find
sent
out.
you was saying that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go to the spine. So did you go?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
that's
what'd
how
they
they
s-
figured it out.
Oh, they figured it out. Okay.
So they took like more, definitely X-rays, and I did a CAT scan, like
Okay.
MRI kind of, not a CAT scan. It was a fucking MRI. So they were checking muscles and then X-rays through the bones or whatever, and they found that was in my lower part. They hadn't taken the lower part of my lumbar,
Oh, okay.
like X-ray.
It's a spinal. It's on your spine. This is
It was the
happening? Okay.
L5.
Oh, okay.
So that's what started the whole thing.
Oh.
And then it was like, then they found out my hip was separate. So it was
Oh,
like
okay.
broken L5 and then a dislocated hip partially.
Damn, really? And this is from a fall you had?
Yeah.
You broke your L5 and dislocated your hip in one fall?
It was like a hairline fracture on the
Wow.
L5.
Damn.
And then fucking like minor, like a halfway pop out.
Yeah.
But because it never popped back in after like 3 months, they fucking like all my muscles got fucked up.
Oh, so during this whole time you're getting it checked out, it was still dislocated?
Yeah.
Wow. And
3 months.
And then they popped it back in after 3 months?
I finally got physical therapy.
Damn.
And the first thing on the first day, bro, I walk in and the dude's all, I was lying down. He's like, has anybody told you your left leg is longer than your right? He's like, have you ever heard this? And I was like, bro, I'm going to skate. He's like, you
Yeah.
skate.
Yeah.
I said, yeah. He's like, you would have not been able to deal with this. He's like, you dislocated your hip.
Oh, okay.
He's all, how old are you? And I think at this point I was probably like 27, 28,
Okay.
around that time. And he was all, fuck, you must have hit the ground hard.
Oh, really? So, but this is from the same fall. You
Yeah.
weren't- Okay.
Yeah. So that's what, when I was
Yeah.
going, it was to like finally deal with all the pain
That's
that was
gnarly.
like built from the tension.
Yeah.
So I was all, dude, I have to try this.
That's super cool. And it sounds like you got a shit ton of benefit out of it.
Well, at that time, yeah, I
Yeah.
was still working at the Chopra Center.
Oh, right. I remember that. You come in with a suit.
Dude,
Yeah, you come
yeah.
with a suit.
With bow tie and shit. Yeah.
I do remember that.
Dude, yeah, you were like, what
Yeah.
the fuck?
Yeah, where's this guy coming from, dude?
Dude. But no, I would do that, and so I was meditating a lot there.
Cool.
But it was, yeah, that was definitely a change of pace in my life.
Yeah,
Lifestyle
definitely.
change.
Yeah. Floating will come to people during that time too. I've certainly made a bunch of lifestyle changes myself, but
Well, hold on one sec.
Uh-huh.
You said a couple important things when we were just like, you just skimmed over them. Like,
yeah,
I got hit by a
okay.
car, and then
yeah.
you said something after that. But like, we needed to get.
Yeah.
Tell me about this getting hit by a car.
I was on my bike. I was going to work. It was
Where were you, in San Diego?
no, I was in Newport.
Okay.
Yeah. So I got hit on Jamboree and PCH, like right above, if anyone knows, right above Balboa Island and right next to the Back Bay. So it's like an intersection I've crossed a bunch of times in my life. And
Were you going across a crosswalk?
yeah, I was in a crosswalk and I was on my bike. And so basically what had happened is I had just gotten back from New York, and I had moved back from Portland to Newport like maybe 2 years before. And I was dating a girl. We went to New York City. I got really inspired by being in New York City, and I wanted to move out there so bad, and I still do. It's my favorite city in the U.S. I fucking love that place. So I really wanted to move out there, but I knew that I had not had a car for like 2.5 years in Costa Mesa, and that's really difficult. So I knew I needed a car, but I was probably going to need my dad's help to do it. And so I left for work early that day on my bike, and the reason this is prevalent or pertinent is because I wasn't wearing a helmet. I was just like, oh, I'm going to take a slow cruise through the Back Bay, nothing to worry about. Because mostly I was worried about, I had to bomb a couple hills. Mostly I was worried about something like braking on my bike,
Yeah, because you're basically riding the brake down the hill.
Yeah, or I'm just going really fast. And, you hear stories about people's like seats, like jangling loose or whatever,
shit.
chain breaks off and maybe something gets
Ooh.
caught,
Or
whatever.
the brakes go out.
Yeah, I just didn't want to be bombing a hill and eat shit. So I wear my helmet all the time, but this time I wasn't. And I took this cruise to the Back Bay, and I came up to this corner, and I started crossing the street. It was like a yellow, so I went halfway, and then it turns red. I know people run that light all the time, so I watched 2 cars go past me, and then I went out and got hit by a third.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
You didn't see it?
No, I didn't see it, and I saw the other cars in the intersection across from me start to move. So I had looked, I didn't see a car. Then I looked this way, and I saw them go, and so I'm like, I'm good. And I went out, and then I got hit by a Jeep Grand Cherokee. Yeah.
Like straight T-bone?
Yeah.
Jesus
So I was
Christ.
riding my bike. I think she hit her brakes. I heard it screech, and I saw the grill, and I knew I was going to get hit.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Like slow motion, or did it happen as fast as you saw it?
I think like for me, I don't know how to answer that because I feel like there are certain pieces that are really vivid, but in between is not. So I think like certain moments are just like your brain is like, this is important, everything else is bullshit, you know? So I saw the grill and I heard the screech and I knew I was going to get hit and my body instantly relaxed. And I owe that to floating, I think, because floating has killed my adrenaline response. Like, and I think a lot of that has to do with the way you make changes. And for me, I made a change in reading music. I hate reading music. I'll keep this part of this story short. I hate reading music. It used to stress me out all the time, and I would always think to myself, can I even do this? And this is when I was going to school. And then eventually, after floating a while, I noticed I wasn't asking if I could do it. I was trying things out. I would be like, what happens if I try it this way? So it became less a question of can and cannot, and more like what happens when I do this.
Yeah, experimenting.
Yeah,
yeah.
And just that language shift helped me do it better, you know? And so,
Sick.
Yeah, so floating for me, I think floating will give you a lot more confidence, and it'll also kill your editor, so you don't think to yourself, "Can I handle this?" You'll just start to handle it. And so when I heard this screech, I think my body went into that mode because I've been doing this for years, and I was like, "We're gonna get hit," you know. And so
you just accepted it.
Yeah, just like I just relaxed. I remember relaxing, and then she must have swerved because I don't think she could have hit me in the leg, because I think that would have broke my leg or something, and you know,
yeah, you have a fucking like 3,000 pound,
like,
moving
totally. So something happened.
Vehicle.
I don't know how she hit me. There's supposed to be a video of it out there, but I've never seen it, and I think it was from far away anyway. So it's kind of hard, is what I heard. But so she hit me somehow. I remember being in the air and being like, "Oh, I'm not gonna hit the ground for a while," but I did. I hit it really fast, and I bounced mostly off my forehead, and I just remember thinking that I hit my forehead hard. And then I rolled a little bit and I came to a stop and I was like, okay, I'm awake and I'm in the street. I need to get out of the street. So I was shocked to be awake, first of all. And then
Did it go black at any point?
No, not that I know of.
You were like super aware.
Yeah, I mean, everything I'm telling you, unless there was a blackout point somewhere in between, like I hit my head and blacked out and then woke up like this or something, which I don't think happened because I feel like that would have been in the police report, or I would have woken up with people around me or something. I was shocked at how many people were there pretty quickly, but I got up, I sat up, and I felt blood come down my face, and I go, oh no, because I've broken my nose before, and I thought maybe I broke my nose, but it was coming from my forehead.
Fuck.
And this lady got out, little Asian lady, she's dressed like kind of like a power suit, if I remember correctly.
The lady who hit you?
Mm-hmm. Uh-huh. And she was terrified. And I said, oh, you know, first I got mad at her. I said she ran the red light, and she said, no, she didn't. And I was like, fuck you, you ran the red light. I need a towel. She handed me like a fistful of napkins, and I put them to my head, and they bled through like immediately.
Oh,
and I was
shit,
like,
you had like a gash.
Yeah, and I was like, I need like a towel. And then she gave me a towel.
She just had a towel?
Yeah, she had a towel. So she gave me
Probably
a towel.
like a workout towel.
Yeah, probably, yeah. And I honestly had no problem with this woman until I got the police report, because I think she lied. And that's just my opinion, because it never went to court or anything. But she gave me the towel, and then I sat down on the curb. And I remember thinking like, oh, I have to text work. So I actually took a selfie and I sent it to my managers because I was on my way to work at this restaurant job I hated. I was like so done with this place, you know?
So it was like a blessing almost.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
Jeez.
I was like, oh, I got hit. So I took a picture. They didn't get it for hours. So they were mad at me for hours until like it was a rush. I'm sure they were busy that day because that's how this shit works, you know? And so everybody's freaking out and all mad at me for not being there. And then they get it, whenever it calms down, they look at their phone and they get a text, and it's me with a big fucking gash on my head. And saying I got hit by a car, I'm not coming in. You know? And
safe bet.
Yeah. So so there was a guy there. Actually, in the selfie, there's a guy with his hand on my shoulder. And the cops are there pretty quick. I saw like a car drive off, and firemen seem to be there pretty quick. This is probably all a testament to my head injury, but all these people are pretty close. There's a police station right down the street in Fashion Island. And there's a fire station right down the street in Balboa. So they all got there pretty quick. Whoa. And it just became a whole thing. Like I didn't want to get into an ambulance. They kind of forced me into an ambulance. It became a whole thing.
Dude, you got hit by a fucking car.
Yeah, but I didn't. I had my girlfriend was coming. I knew the ambulance was going to cost money. Yeah. And I'm like, dude, I don't want to do this. Like, I'm fine. Just like, I'll go to whatever hospital you want me to go to. And you know what? Fuck them. I was right. Because here's what happens. You get put in the fucking ambulance by these firemen. They go, hey, how fast was she going? That's what they asked me. I just got hit by the car. They say, how fast was she going? I said, I think to myself, well, you can go pretty fast down PCH, but to take that turn, you can't really be doing more than 20.
Yeah,
to
you
go
got to be
from
20, 25
Yeah,
max.
and so I was like, she couldn't be going more than 20. I heard the brakes, so she probably slowed down. I'm like,
she might have taken it a little fast, like slow. You know how people like are speeding, but they slow down to maybe like 30, and then right when they're about to turn, they slow down to like real quick to 20, and then mob it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. So and she hit the brakes on top of that, enough to screech them. So I'm like, she couldn't be going more than 20. So these people go 20 miles an hour. That classifies you as trauma. There's only one hospital we can take you to, and it's in Santa Ana. And so then they hook me up with an IV, and they take me to Santa Ana. This is why this is important, because after I go through this whole process, I get a call from Santa Ana a week later, and they say, we need $30,000.
$30K?
Yeah. And I gave you my, I was there for 12 hours. And I go, I gave you my insurance. And they said, oh, you're not covered here. And I go, it's Blue Shield. How are you not covered?
Yeah, Blue Shield, California.
It's like the fucking biggest one in the country or something.
Blue Cross, Blue Shield, right?
Something like that.
Yeah.
And I go, how are you not covered? And they're like, I don't know, we're not covered. And I go, well, whatever. This is going to go to court, because at that time I had to fight it, or I had to at least think about it. And then, so I was like, just send it to my lawyer, or whatever. So I had this shady fucking lawyer. I hate this guy. He ended up screwing me over. But the point being, this is the point. The point being is that what ended up happening is that my insurance, my specific covered California policy, whatever, the very specific one that I had, was like one of the only ones that was considered out of network for that place.
Because of the emergency or whatever?
Yeah. So I said, I got hit by a car and put in an ambulance. I have to drive the fucking ambulance to a network doctor.
Yeah.
You know, what are you talking about? And they go, oh, it was an ambulance? Oh, no. Okay. That's different. We'll take care of it. And I'm like, are you kidding? But this is like 2 years later. It took 2 years to figure that out. You know? You know what I mean? It's just so dumb. And
Thank God, though. At least they figured it out, right?
Yeah, but it didn't do me any good at that point. I owed all the money to everybody already. It's already in debt collection. Like, fuck all these people. And all because they wouldn't let me make a decision to go to whatever hospital they were going to tell me to go to. Yeah. You know, they forced me into that truck. You know? And
scary.
Because they all yelled at me. I go, no, my girlfriend's coming. They're like, are you refusing service? And I saw all the police on the scene, all their heads turn. And everybody's heads turn. And I'm like, oh, my God, do I have to think like a lawyer right now? Dude. You know, like, what's this going to look like? Oh, yeah, and then fucking... Because I ended up getting accused of the whole thing. It was my fault, according to them.
Dude, if you had a gash on your forehead...
Bro, these people are retarded. And the first cop on the scene, this is my crackpot theory now. First cop on the scene...
Wait, you had the green to go, right?
Yeah, I had the green. That's why I saw it turn green. I saw 2 people run it. That's what I'm saying. I saw it turn green. I went halfway when it was yellow. I saw it turn green. 2 people ran it. And then the third one hit me. Sketch. You know? So that's what I'm saying. And then the first cop on the scene, I'm sitting on the curb. My bike is in the gutter. It landed in the gutter. I had to walk like 10 feet to pick up my messenger bag. You know? I got hit by this car on a hill, right? And so by the time I stopped rolling, I was like 20 feet from the crosswalk. And my bag was another 10. You know, and I went and picked up my bag out of the street, and my bike was in the gutter, so I just left it there. And the first cop on the scene came over. He kicks my bike. He said, oh, no. He says, hey, can you get up? And I was like, yeah, I think I can get up. And he goes, great. Kicks my bike and says, come get your bike. Get it out of the street. And I was like furious, you know. And I go, bro, you're closer. You get it. I'll meet you over there. And he fucking picked it up. And he brought it over there, you know. And they were fucking pissed. And I think that's why the police ended up blaming me, because I was a smartass, this fucking dick who had some attitude, you know?
Dude.
I've never wanted to keep my mouth shut.
Were you a messenger, like a bike messenger?
No, I just carried that bag. I had my like bike lock in it.
Okay.
I used to carried all my books in it. It was just like cool in Portland. I had a messenger bag.
Okay.
Yeah.
My brother was a bike messenger at one point in San Francisco.
Those people are crazy, bro.
Dude, and his bike, he fucking plowed like a postal lady. Bro. Yeah, bro. Yeah. Fucking crazy. Dude, my mom and I were like laughing in his face when he came back home. He's like talking about, I got fucked up. Like, what happened?
He ran into a lady working?
A postal lady crossing the street. Oh my God. Yeah. Bro.
Was everybody all right or what? Was he bombing that hill?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He was bombing the hill. Listen to this. He was bombing a hill. And he said he was looking left, like about to, like the cross street was coming this way, right? Mm-hmm. So kind of the same thing, I would assume. probably had the
Looking
green
for cars.
looking for cars. So he looks left, and he said all he remembers was like boom. As soon as he looked left, he fucking just like was flying through the air. He said he got pitched from his bike. He was like flew into the intersection because there's like a 4-way goes in the city.
Yeah.
And he like slid. And he said that the fucking like postal lady got just like knocked the fuck out.
She was unconscious probably, right?
Like pretty tough.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was fully unconscious. I don't remember that part or not. Could be completely wrong on that part. But regardless, when they got her, he said that she was done. Like she was gone, bro. Like she was like, what? Like didn't know what the fuck happened.
That sounds like unconscious.
Like
dude.
her postal hat had flown off.
Oh my! Did she keep her shoes though? Her shoes on?
I don't even know.
That's so gnarly.
When he was describing it, like the way I'm describing it now is a very summed up version. I remember being super young and it was just this big elaborate story. And my mom, she only laughs, like belly laughs, crying when we would get hurt, both of us. And so as my brother's telling me and my mom this story, because my brother had moved out by this point, I'm like living with my mom because we were 13 years apart.
All right.
I'm fucking sitting there and my mom is just like hysterically laughing, fucking crying, bro. And my brother's like, this isn't fucking funny. Like, I could have fucking died. And she's like bursting at like the fucking tears, bro. She's like, you're a dumbass. Oh I'm just sitting there laughing at her, laughing at him. And he's like, fuck you. Don't you laugh? Like hits me and shit.
Was he pretty fucked up?
Dude, he got fucked up for a minute.
He got cuts and shit, right?
Dude, he didn't actually get any cuts because he just like plowed through this lady.
Yeah. Even from the skid, though?
Dude, he got like some bruises. That was pretty much it. I think he had like a rug burn kind of thing, like from the asphalt on his arm.
That makes sense.
Not too hard.
That's wild. Yeah, I had cuts on my face, probably from sliding, and a gash on my forehead. But other than that, I had like a little bit of like road rash, but
no brain trauma.
Well, I think I probably did. That's the other weird thing, dude. Like
CTE.
I spent 12 hours in the hospital, and within like the first hour I was there, they found out I had Obamacare essentially, and I just watched them give up. You know, I just like they were like cleaning my shoulder. I had gravel in my shoulder or my leg or something, and they just kind of were like, oh. And they just sort of kind of finished it. I still had to brush some shit out when I got to my room, you know?
What?
Yeah, it was really weird.
What does that mean, Obamacare?
So weird. I had the lowest grade Medicare. So I think they were like, oh, we're not getting paid type of shit, you know? Or like this guy's a deadbeat. Or maybe they realized it was out of network. I don't know what happened. But as soon as I gave them my insurance card, everything changed. I basically think at that point they did enough to prevent me from suing them, which is essentially put me through a CAT scan. And, you know, they probably needed to do that because I've heard so many stories since. I was mad at them for a while, but I've heard so many stories since of people getting a head injury and dying like days later because they didn't catch some bleeding or something.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm glad that they figured it out in the ambulance part. That's like pretty essential.
Did they figure it out? They're listening to me. You know?
No, I know. I'm just, but at the end, like the insurance ended up covering it because it was the ambulance's fault that they took you there.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, what was the other thing that you had said that you wanted to like come back on? You were talking about.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That joint is nice, dude.
Dude,
yeah.
It was a good one.
Joint is a really good one.
We can't really talk about what you're trying to get into, but you're back in San Diego. You've been traveling. You were in Thailand for a while.
I didn't go to Thailand. Everyone thinks that.
Where was it?
I was Taiwan. At the end of my trip. But in the beginning, I was in Bali in Vietnam.
Okay, Bali, Vietnam.
Yeah.
And tell me about that.
In Taiwan. It's awesome. Everyone should do it, you know.
Did you float out there?
I did. I got to float in Bali and in Saigon. And there's places in Taiwan I just didn't go, you know. But yeah, you know, this is another part of why I really like working and floating is because I meet people from all over the world. And they're usually like the people that are outside the U.S. Most of the people working inside the U.S. are older people, middle-aged people that are starting these things.
Yeah.
And that's all well and good. There's a few people who are younger, and I like working with them the best. But it seems like the youngest crowd is out in other countries, you know?
Yeah.
So now I got friends in Lima, Brazil, different parts of Brazil, Chile. But I met a guy at a conference, a really cool New Zealand guy, Aaron Turner he's in Bali. He just opened up a place.
What?
And so I went out there. Yeah, it's amazing. I haven't actually been. It was under construction when I was there. But knowing him and his business partner, it's going to be just the dope-ass place for sure. And there was already a place in Ubud, which is like the center of Bali. And they have like one little strip, like 1 acre of land in the middle of all these rice paddies. So when you get out of the tank, you're just hanging out on like a rice paddy villa. And I can't imagine a nicer place to go, You know, I can't imagine a nicer place to get out of a float tank and just be in the middle of like a gorgeous tropical island. You know,
dude. Well, hell yeah, that would just be talk about ultimate relaxation,
dude. It's incredible. It's so incredible. And so, you know, there's all these cool people around the world doing neat shit like that. You know, and I'm super excited for them. So that's why I went out. I went out to go to Bali to go meet up with Aaron and see what he was up to, and learn about, you know, they're building their own tanks out there, and really ingenious people. And then I got to float there, and you know, I have the capability right now to work from anywhere. And so
I wanted to get into that because you have a pretty nomadic lifestyle.
Yeah.
You don't have like a place of your own right now.
No, I don't keep an apartment right now.
How long has it been that you've been doing this?
2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, 2 years.
Just super nomadic.
Yeah. Yeah, you know. I just have friends and family. Like I was telling you, like I usually just stay with people for a couple days at a time, you know, and try not to put anyone out. But I have like regular places that I stay. I stay with my buddy Phil in Long Beach, and we'll make beats, you know. And
you were telling me about that too.
Yeah, I love that, you know. And I'll stay with friends in Costa Mesa, like my buddy Brent, who took me skydiving. I've known forever. He'll let me crash his couch. You know, him and his wife will let me crash their couch. And yes, occasionally when I would need my own space, I put myself up in an Airbnb. But initially, when I gave up my apartment, I just wanted to take my rent money and put it towards plane tickets. And so that's what I did. You know, I just started calling like float centers and other people I knew, and I would just go to like New York City and hang out with people over there.
Would you work at the float center?
I can work. I would if they wanted me there, but mostly I just visited people. You know, a lot.
So how did you sustain your lifestyle? Was it just money you saved up?
No, it's because I work for this company in Portland that does consulting for people. Oh. And so I would take calls all the time from wherever I was. Or I would, you know, people download from us. We have like a business plan that we sell to people who are interested in opening up a float center.
So you can live a nomadic lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly.
A digital nomad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I have an income stream that is not dependent on a location.
Dude,
you know, which is
legit.
Dude, it's when I stopped working at Float North County, and then I decided to give up my apartment. I did it because I'd heard this guy on Joe Rogan. I think his name is Sebastian Bach. No.
Sebastian Bach? That's
Sebastian Younger. Yeah, that's his name.
I was like, dude, that's a fucking composer, bro.
Also, I was thinking the lead singer of Skid Row, you know? You ever see this guy? He's like 80s metal legend. Sebastian Bach.
Oh, wait. Yeah. I'm stupid as fuck.
You remember
that
this
wasn't
guy?
a composer.
Yeah.
I was thinking.
No, he is a composer.
Yeah, the Sebastian. Right. So
no, Sebastian Bach.
Okay.
Yeah, you got it.
But you're talking about like the dude with the long hair.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
All right.
Composer of a different variety.
He was on like VH1, like one of those like.
Exactly. He's that 80s hair band. Dude.
Yeah.
Pretty as can be.
Dude.
So when I heard this guy Sebastian Younger, I think his name is. He wrote a book called Tribe.
Yeah, it's a good book.
You read it?
Yes.
Oh, cool. So I've never read it.
You never read it?
No, but the dude inspired me because he was talking about how the human brain is wired to struggle, and how there's like an inordinate amount of depression and anxiety in rich folks, because in his opinion, I think, and this is just what I gleaned from this one podcast, in his opinion, they don't have the same struggle, and the human brain functions better when it has to struggle.
Well, you have something to overcome.
Yeah, exactly. And so he said, I remember him, if I remember correctly, he was saying, you know, there's some ultra rich people who take on larger challenges, right? Like Bill Gates is trying to cure diseases, you know, Elon Musk is trying to get to Mars. So they create these larger challenges for themselves.
Fuck trying to go to Mars. Let's just try to save this planet. How about that?
I agree with that wholeheartedly. But, you know, these people made billions of dollars. They can do what they want, I guess.
Did you know that apparently, I just heard this on a podcast, so I don't know exactly how true this is.
Yeah.
But they're saying that the BP oil spill that happened like 14 years ago is still fucking pumping oil into the oceans.
Yeah, and they just don't care.
They're just like, dude.
It's all, but, you know, in some ways, it's kind of like a problem that's too big to solve right now, you know, and just no one is working on it because there's no like gain or something.
We don't know.
Yeah.
That's so shitty, bro.
It is shitty. I agree. I totally agree. And
you know, when you travel the world, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Are you good?
Yeah.
When you travel the world, do you notice like the poverty line, like, and how blessed we are to live here?
Oh yeah, totally.
It's fucked up, huh?
Yeah.
I was just doing some research on this. The reason I asked is I was just about to do, or I was doing this past week, doing some heavy research into the Jai Coffee Collective, like the Jai Coffee House Collective or something like that, where we get our coffee from in Laos, because we get in these like 25-pound boxes, 25-kilo boxes, and
Are you good on this?
I'll hit it again.
We get them in those small boxes, and when I was reading, like researching about the area and Laos and stuff like that, and it's like found out, I was like, dude, they're fucking living under like they're living on about $2 a day.
It's crazy.
U.S. dollar.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
totally.
like the poverty line. It said that the poverty line there is well below the United Nations, like standard for human life or like some type of thing. Don't quote me on it, but like that said it on there.
Like this like area where the collective is specifically, or like
the people that are like working in the coffee, that are doing that. The villages and shit.
It's so wild. And I go to these places and I see people living like this.
Because you went to Vietnam, because one of the things was that the coffee gets rebranded as fucking Vietnamese or Thailand coffee. And it's from Laos.
Oh, really?
So it's like, but Vietnam, I know, is just growing coffee too. But we have Vietnamese coffee, and it's not in that sense. It's actually specialty grade.
Okay.
So it's, what did you experience when you walked around there?
Most of the coffee in Vietnam is shit, first of all.
Is it?
Yeah, it's just like whatever cheap like swill they can get, and they add a bunch of like condensed milk and shit to it.
No, see, that's what I
but
mean.
You can
it's
find,
not like that.
But you can find really good places.
Yeah, no, we have a Vietnamese coffee that I love and that I use consistently, and it's a big part of my of our roast profile, if you will, like flavor profile at the shop. So, I mean, when you were there, did you see a lot of that? Like,
I mean, I didn't go very rural in places, but regardless, you can get the feel when you pass through places. You get like the vibe. Even when I was in Peru, I saw people living in like 3/4 built buildings and stuff. In Bali, people like all the Balinese I saw were very family oriented, and they lived in like large groups, usually on like a cool little property. We rented an Airbnb from this dude Made, but there's like a million Mades. It's like I think the name Made comes from like a birth position or something. So there's like all kinds of Mades throughout. But anyway, this guy's name was Made. He had a dope little acre or whatever. And he just built a bunch of Airbnbs on it to host people like me.
So they had like compounds.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. And they got their own little shrine and stuff like that. And then,
shrine?
Yeah, everyone is Hindu there.
In Bali?
Mm-hmm. So every like house, the compound will have its own shrine.
To Ganesh,
whoever they like, I think. Yeah.
Hanuman.
Yeah, totally. There's the Hanumans there. I mean, I got a barong tattoo when I was there.
What does that mean?
Barong is like the Balinese Hindu god of good, and there's all these like 50-50 statues they make. So this guy is like half human, half barong, like half human, half god. So they're like kind of good and kind of bad, but they're always temple guardians. So
he's like a Hercules. He's half human, half god.
Yeah, exactly. And they guard the temple. So my dude here's got like a little knife he keeps on him.
Oh shit!
So you don't come in and try to fuck with the temple.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
So
the temple being your body.
In this case, yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
Yes.
I just really liked the story of it.
Okay.
And that's why I got it, and I wanted something to remember Indonesia by. So
sick.
So but yeah, so every compound has like something like that going on. They live in groups, and then some people live like, I'm sure there's people out there who live all crazy lives, with like no running water and stuff like that. But one thing I noticed is similar to like what Sebastian Junger is saying, they just seem like less stressed. You know what I mean? Like things are like a little more chill, and like you can get used to all kinds of conditions.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the book, I read the book. I didn't listen to audio tapes or anything, but it definitely was very interesting how he compared like wartime people and the bonds that people would go through in villages when they were in times of getting bombed, and how they banded together, and they were, with the weird kind of like eeriness that hung over them, they had some of the best laughs and the best times, but it was definitely stressful and hectic.
They had
and
a common goal and stuff,
like surviving.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
And then when people are safe and things kind of start to go their course, to go back to peaceful, it's depression and these other things started to ensue.
Yeah,
and then
totally.
If something happened again, and it was almost like, oh, okay, cool, we're back together.
Yeah,
we need
exactly.
to like survive, kind of thing.
Doesn't he talk about that's why guys will go back into war zones?
Yeah, I mean, they talk about, he definitely followed around. I haven't read the book in a while, so I don't remember, but it was somewhere in the Middle East, and he went with like a troop, or like, I guess a troop. Yeah, that'd be right. Yeah. And he followed him around, and the camaraderie and the fucking brotherhood that they had was second to none essentially.
Sure,
It's something that they were, but he got so deep into it, and it was almost like he was asking himself questions. Like he would see what would happen, but then he would just like pose these questions sometimes.
Really? I got to read this book because
it's so easy. It's like this big.
The dude just listening to him inspired me to give up my apartment and give myself a struggle.
Just based off a podcast.
Yeah, just listening to this guy, it just hit me. It just resonated with me. So I was like,
feel some type of way.
Exactly. It's gangster like that. And so I just did it, and I was like, well, let's see how long. I plan on going a couple months. I was like, oh, maybe by the winter I'll find a place in San Diego or something, and I just haven't stopped.
So where was the first place you went?
New York. Well, I think technically Colorado, but then New York. New York was the first place that I really wanted to go.
Okay.
Yeah, so I went for like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Also, to tie it back to float tank and psychedelics.
We've like skimmed over that. We haven't even gotten to like sick shit.
I'm sure it'll just come up. It's like this is what happened. So, there were dudes that were at a rehab facility coming in, and
wait, where?
In
New York. This is in New York.
No. This is here in California.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So in California, there's a rehab center that's bringing in like aftercare clients. So what they were doing is they were getting a bunch of dope fiends essentially from all over the country, and they would fly them into Mexico. They get them into Mexico, and then they would give them Ibogaine treatments. I know what
Ibogaine is.
Yeah, so they bring them Ibogaine treatments, and they come back into the States. They have all these programs for them. Floating was one of them. So I started to hear about these guys, and like most of the time they were like kind of done with floating. And interestingly enough, I found out that one of the things they did was combo. Do you know what combo is?
No.
Combo is this like, I think it comes from a frog. It comes from a frog or a plant. Pretty sure it's a frog. And you basically have to cut yourself and then burn it into you.
What? Burn what?
This like frog venom or slime, some type of frog goo.
What the fuck are you talking about?
No, I swear to God. Or it might come from a plant, is one or the other. I kind of forget. But you burn it into yourself. And it gives you this like detoxing trip. The way it was described to me, it sounds like almost like a crazy niacin type of reaction. You ever taken niacin?
No.
Oh yeah, niacin's like a something that will help you like sweat out all, like people try to take it to piss clean, so you'll take a bunch of niacin and it'll make you all itchy and sweaty and just give you this like crazy reaction and try to get all the toxins and shit out of your body.
Whoa.
Yeah, so people will do that. I remember kids in high school used to do that when they had to piss clean.
Dude, how much are the kids you hanging out with had to piss clean that crazy?
I'm saying, I don't know. Back then they were probably testing for weed too, but
dude, I had to definitely. I've only gotten called back on one, and I was like, "Oh shit, bro!"
Oh really?
Yeah, and then I took another one and I pissed clean. I was like,
"Oh,
thank
nice,
God."
Yeah, nice.
Yeah,
So, but so these people were coming in, and so when I found out that they were coming to float like the night after or like the night of, they were doing combo, and then they would come float. So everyone was getting out early because they're burning the shit out of them. They have like an open wound that they just burnt some frog venom into, and then they come to a float tank. Yeah. So I didn't find that out till much later, but. Most of the dudes were just like whatever about it, but the people who liked it the most always talked about taking boosters. And so I said, what are boosters? And I got a hold of one of the guys working there, and he said, they're like little microdoses of Ibogaine that we give people throughout their aftercare to kind of keep it going, because it would like essentially get people through the withdrawal symptoms and keep them from going back. It has
it basically is supposed to help you kick crazy addiction, like heroin addicts, crack addicts, stuff like that.
Yeah, well, they said I remember you have to be clean from uppers for like at least a day, maybe 2 days, maybe 48 hours. You have to be clean from uppers because it can react and like kill you. So they never let. I remember that they never let like meth heads come in, or they had to like piss clean. So a lot of times it was heroin. And as I understand it, Ibogaine releases a chemical in your brain that washes all your neurons clean, and heroin will hijack neurons and create its own pathways in your brain. And
Scary.
so you can't actually die from heroin withdrawals. They're psychosomatic. And so the hardest part is getting through them for a lot of people.
So I guess your brain kills you? No,
your brain, most people die from like an overdose afterwards. They detox for a certain amount of time, and then they think they can go back to what they were doing.
Oh.
But no, it just makes you feel really sick, so you go back to the dope.
Yeah.
And maybe they can kill you in extreme circumstances, but that's how I understood it. So what Ibogaine would do is wash their brains clean, and then they would just get through the withdrawal symptom, which is the hardest part, keep from going back.
Yeah.
And then they would come over and they do all these other things to get their minds right, kind of clean their head out. But they described Ibogaine as as like a 2 years of therapy crammed into like an 18-hour nightmare. That's how they
18-hour nightmare?
Yeah,
Dude, that doesn't even sound attractive.
That's how they described it.
No way.
Yeah, I know.
No way.
So, but everyone coming back was loving these boosters, and I'm like, I'll take a microdose of that,
Dude,
So I got
fuck?
some of these boosters. Okay, I got some of these boosters, and someone was like, okay, take one time, and then sometime later, maybe then you can take the other two.
Yeah.
So immediately I'm thinking like, oh, that means I can take all of them. I'll just take 2 and I'll be smart about it or whatever, right? So I did that, and
what the fuck?
and then I thought to myself,
Everybody tells you take one, you're like, I'll take 2.
yeah, I know, dude. And then, and so that's how I thought, that's how I was thinking, and that's how I usually think when I would buy like LSD from people. They'd be like, just take 1, and I'd be like, no, I'm gonna take like 4.
Jesus,
because that's what I would do. I would do that.
You're so gnarly.
The most I took was 7, and that was kind of a mistake.
Dude, you
probably
fucking fried.
Yeah, that was a little much. But I'll tell you what, dude, Miles Davis Bitches Brew never sounded so good. Dude. Yeah, my God. But yeah, so I got a hold of these boosters. I took 2. And then I thought to myself, well, I should ask what a normal dose is, because just so I can know for myself.
After you took them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so I called, and he said, oh, there's like X amount of milligrams in them. I kind of forget the numbers right now. X amount of milligrams in them. And I go, what's considered a flood dose, which is what they give these guys. And they go, oh, it's X milligrams per weight, or like per pound. And I'm like, I did some quick math, and I'm like, oh, fuck. This is probably not a microdose,
You took like a regular dose.
No, I didn't take a regular. I ended up taking like 55% of a regular dose.
Jesus.
But it's an 18-hour nightmare. So I'm expecting a 9-hour one or something. But I didn't really think about it. And then I ended up floating. I had one of the best floats of my entire life. It was incredible. I saw galaxies pop in and out of existence, dude. My dog had just died. I saw his face, and it was like all psychedelic. And it was the first time I thought about him and wasn't sad about it. I was like, oh, there he is.
Sick.
And I was stoked. And then I remember I had this one thing, dude, that like, I was so high. I had this thing where I basically saw the Earth. It felt like I left Earth, and I was looking at it, and then Earth just, as I zoom out, Earth gets smaller and smaller and smaller. And then eventually all I see is a bunch of circles, like a concentric circle. And I understand Earth in like the middle of it, but it's like this huge, I'm way outside of the
You're
universe.
out there.
Yeah, I'm way out. And then I saw it all like pop, like swirl and disappear into blackness. Almost like you'd see like in a cartoon, like a caption, they have like a thought bubble disappear.
Yeah.
And it all just disappeared like that. And I cracked up. I started cracking up laughing. And I thought, how funny is it that people think they got this figured out? And just that thought made me laugh for like, anyway, I thought I was in there for like an hour. I got out. It was 4.5 hours later.
Jesus Christ.
It was 4.5 hours later. And yeah, I actually ended up doing a podcast the very night after all this happened.
Oh,
But,
really?
Yeah, that's just on Psychedelic Milk. I've only listened to it once.
Psychedelic Milk?
Yeah.
That's the name of the podcast?
Mhm,
I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, check it out. I mean, I haven't listened to it in a while. It was really gnarly for me. The dudes on the podcast with me were like, I think you're still high. But I didn't think I was.
You were probably just saying
It was
some
crazy.
fucking
Yeah.
shit that was out there.
Yeah.
Son.
Yeah, but basically, I remember being really emotional too. So, but basically what these guys told me is that like another thing Ibogaine does is it creates this thing known as a pink cloud.
A pink cloud.
Yeah. And so, the way I understand it is that like it comes with like a certain chemical that basically like plants itself in your brain. And so people who get real hardcore about ayahuasca and ibogaine and things like that,
Yes.
they will follow a diet afterwards, and they'll like adhere to this thing while the plant is still with them, And so that's kind of how I understood ibogaine. It like plants a seed in your brain, and 2 weeks later you get extra serotonin, and they call it the pink cloud. And the first place I went when I gave up my apartment was New York. And I think that's when the pink cloud hit me. And it was just like so rad, dude. I walk out on the streets with like this shit-eating grin on my face, just looking up, just like so stoked, dude. Just like skipping through the streets and shit. It was ridiculous, dude. New York it was like the middle of July. It's hot, shit.
Yep.
And I just
Hella
loved it.
humid
I
and shit.
fucking loved every minute of that,
Dude, New York's pretty lit.
It's so rad, dude. I can't get enough of it,
Yeah.
And I like big crazy cities like that. And
Dude, that's a whole next level though. When you really get outside of the city and like live in that city.
Yeah, that's why.
For
That's
a couple
what I've heard.
weeks.
Yeah,
Dude.
yeah. I was there for 2 weeks, I think, and I had a blast. I could have stayed for longer.
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. People who live there, eventually I noticed their mindset changes. It just kind of grates on you. So I wonder if like, I feel like I feel again like if you have float tanks and you have access to float tanks, which New York has a bunch of them, you can insulate, you know, like you don't let external things bug you so much. So like if you're in New York City and you like it, but you're bummed out because everyone else in New York somehow has this effect on you.
Yeah.
And the whole pace has an effect on you and the weather has an effect on you.
Dude, the buildings are so fucking big.
They're
it's
huge.
So
yeah.
overwhelming. Dude.
Concrete jungle, dude. Yeah. It's wild.
Dude, my first experience in New York City, I got off the fucking train. I mean, I got off the plane and I fucking got a cab. Took 2.5 hours to get from JFK into fucking Manhattan. Get to my homie's house. He's like, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to skate.
Yeah.
So I changed my clothes and we're just mobbing through the streets. And almost immediately, I fucking get hit by a bus. He's like, let's go, California. And my homie Nardelli is just like blasting through the fucking red light. And the fucking other oncoming traffic is coming. And I just see the bus and I'm just like mashing with him, trying to keep up. And I'm all, dude, honestly, the first time I was in New York, that taught me how to really skate.
Whoa.
Like,
those people don't care, dude. I see videos. They're just like flying through crowds and
bro,
they don't care.
That's how you learn how to skateboard.
Yeah. How's that?
Really skate.
Why is that?
Because if you don't, like, you can be a skate park skater and you know how to maneuver a skate park, but to really mash a skateboard, complete control, like pushing and
because it's like total improv, probably, right? You got to adapt to every situation.
To adapt super fast. And dude, just recently, this dude in San Francisco skateboarded really good. He was like, from what I heard, he was skitching.
He was hit by that dumpster.
No, he fucking
dump truck or something.
He got hit by a car in fucking San Francisco.
Oh yeah, I heard about this. There's been 2 guys recently that happened to.
Two?
Yeah, there was one dude I saw that he came. It was like a city vehicle that hit him, like a garbage truck or something.
Oh shit!
Hit him, yeah. And then there's another dude who got hit in an intersection, right?
It was in an intersection, I think.
Yeah, I remember this.
That's scary. But I mean, when you skate in those cities, San Francisco, for some reason, you can skate the cities, but like you can also avoid those areas where you really have to dodge traffic. Dude, New York City,
you can't do it.
It's going. Totally. Everything is going. So you have to split second, boom, cut. Whatever.
Yeah, that's crazy. I never thought about that.
Dude,
that's wild.
I met up with the homies and we were skating up to 3rd and 63rd. He's like, that's where I'm at. You got to find us. I fucking mashed all the way through and you go through all these big ass buildings and you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, totally. That's what I like. I was there one year during Christmas and I felt like I was in Home Alone, I felt like I was just living it, Dude. I've never been in such Christmas spirit. Everyone in New York is in a good mood. And that's the thing too, I think about New York in particular is that you're New Yorkers and you ignore each other, but you're also New Yorkers, And so you're like, okay, maybe we don't interact with everybody in New York, but when some shit goes down, they step up. Like I've seen people who will pull purse jackers off of people.
Sick.
And that I didn't see that happen in San Francisco the one time I saw it happen.
Yeah.
These 2 ladies ended up fighting this homeless guy off of them, trying to steal their purse. And there were all kinds of guys. I was a block and a half away and I was watching all these guys sitting there. There were tons of them, just way bigger than this other dude. This homeless dude was really scrawny, and he could barely fight off these 2 old ladies. And no one was even just stepping in and being like, hey bro, you're done. There's 2 of them. Yeah, they didn't say anything, in San Francisco. They just left. They just left. They just watched it all go down. I was actually starting to jog towards it, but it only lasted 3 seconds or 5 seconds or whatever before these 2 old ladies beat this guy off, And they were like, get the fuck out of here. They got their purse and everything. And he just kind of stumbled away, But in New York, the second this guy grabbed a purse, 3 dudes right there just mobbed him,
No,
one guy held him down on the ground, had him on his back and was like, yeah, you're fucking going to jail, It's just crazy, But they just stood up for someone is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So there's that vibe in New York too, I think.
Dude, they're fucking, there's something about New York. It's hella sick. My homie Nardelli one time, he's like, you go down that street, you got to be careful. He's like, but you go down this street, you're good.
Yeah, totally.
And then we'd same thing on the way out skating that first right before I was about to get hit by this fucking this car, bus, whatever it was, fucking big ass thing. I meet this dude named Harry. I forgot. He's some legend dude. He's always in the 5 Borough videos.
Okay.
And he's like, yo, what's up? My name's Harry. Meet this. He's like, oh, you from California? I'm like, yeah, bro, San Diego. Yeah, whatever. And he's just like, yeah, money making Manhattan right here. Let him know. And I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You're like, yeah, cool, man.
Yeah.
I'll let everybody know.
Dude,
Yeah.
And Nardelli was just all I love it. That's the homie Harry. And I was
it just hangs out. They got characters, right?
Dude, they got characters, but I guess he was a really good skateboarder back in the day. Knew
really?
all the dudes.
Oh, okay.
But Yeah, man. It's like New York is just
there's all these
next
cool
level.
there's all these cool stories around it too, like and I also love a city that defies my expectations a lot, you know. So there's this idea that New Yorkers are rude. I've never had that happen, you
Dude,
know.
yeah,
Except I did have one. I had this like Seinfeld moment in an elevator where I got in an elevator, two guys got in behind me, and he went and hit his floor. So I said, hey, can you hit number 10 or whatever? And he looked at me and he's like, what am I, your fucking mother? I'm here to fucking help you. You know? Which that's my first reaction. I'm like, damn, that was really funny, you know? And, so, and he's like, I'm like, sorry, you know? He's like, oh, am I here? I mean, you need some fucking assistance, you know, whatever. And I was like, well, at this point I kind of can't back down and the door's shut, you know? And I'm like, well, I'm just saying, you know, you're closer over there. And he said,
that's pretty common with you.
yeah, it is. Yeah. I was like, you're closer. It's a good, keep that one in mind, people. It's useful. And
oh my God.
yeah. And so then he said something else, and I was like, well, listen, it's going to be super awkward for me to reach past you now. We're fighting. So could you just, you know, hit the button? And then he pulled a napkin out of his pocket and hit the button. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like a germaphobe, you know, but that was like an awkward 10-floor ride. But everyone else in New York has been super useful and helpful, you know. And there was even this one time, the first time I tried to go to Brooklyn, I had no idea how to get there. And I was asking people for directions, and no one was talking to me. And then this one like super gangster looking dude, he was like, had like biggest baggy pants, solid grill and shit. And he was like, he's sitting back, you know, and he's like, yo, where are you trying to go? And I was like, I'm trying to get to Williamsburg. And he's like, take this train, get off on this fucking street, go left.
He like yelled at you.
Yeah,
go left.
Yeah, it was like the most angry directions I've ever got, and I was like, okay, I guess that's what I'm doing. And so when we got to that stop, I got off, and the dude was sitting there hitting his fists like this, you know. He's like punching his palm like that, you know. And he was looking, and I go, what the fuck is going on now? And I was with my girlfriend at the time, and then he comes up, he's like, yo, what are you guys doing in Williamsburg? Where are you trying to go? And we're like, we're trying to get some pizza. And he goes, I have a spot. I have a spot for you. And I was like, shut the fuck up. Where are we going? You know? And he walked us like halfway there before he parted and just talked to us for a second and told us about this pizza.
Sick.
You know? And I was like, dude, I thought this guy was about to start all kinds of trouble. And then he just comes up and he's like the homie, you know, the coolest dude. And I'm like, I love New York. You know, it's the best.
See, I had a similar experience. I mean, New York obviously is amazing, but I had the similar experience when I was like a kid growing up in the Bay Area. When I went when we were at, this is actually after I'd already moved out of the Bay to move to LA. I came back, I brought all my LA homies, and we were at Mission and three up, three down, and Mission and like 14th or 16th or something like that. I was in between there. I think it was Mission and 16th, and Mission and 14th was the BART station that you got off at.
Okay.
And we would always go there, and the homies from LA were like, yo, we need to get some weed. And it was this dude, Arthur Lara, that's his name.
Okay.
And he fucking he like this dude, we're skating 3 up 3 down, and this dude walks up, just like a little bay homie. He's fucking standing there like gangster as fuck, looking super hyphy. And he's all, y'all need some weed? And I was like, actually, yeah, bro, we need some weed. And
really?
Arthur's like, yeah, I need to get some weed. And he's like, all right, you need to follow me around the corner. And I was like,
whoa, really?
Arthur and like a couple other homies that were from like Simi Valley. Oh, fuck.
It's getting
What's
small.
going on over here?
Getting small, sorry.
They basically were like, do you trust this dude? I'm like, yeah, I mean, what does he have to lose? It's like $50. Like, okay, fuck, dude.
Yeah,
give him the $50 and dip. What if they're gonna rob you? Just whatever.
Yeah, just give him $50. Yeah, it's worth a gamble. You're rolling the dice.
Plus, we
$50.
needed weed, so he's like, I'm just gonna try it. Sure enough, dude, he fucking went around the corner with the homie.
Yeah.
And I think at some point we had asked like, are you from here, kind of thing. I'm like, bro, I'm from Fremont. Like, yeah, I'm from the Bay Area.
Yeah.
But not from around this area.
Yeah.
And so he kind of was like, all right. He fucking went back, and Arthur came back and he got weed, and it was fucking legit.
Yeah,
he's
nice,
like, dude, homie was legit. And it was all like just one of those things.
Yeah.
It's like that's a big city
totally
kind of thing.
It could go a lot of different ways, but you know, I think again, like to get back to sort of Sebastian Junger, like when you have like a survival instinct kick in, you're like a little happier. You know what I mean? Like you don't create your own problems. You have like a real problem to deal with, you know, like you're looking down at all the clouds, and this is really danger, you know? So, MF Doom talks about that a lot. Like, have you heard, I think it's his Victor Vaughn album. Do you know that album?
No.
Oh, you don't know? Yeah, MF Doom's like my favorite guy.
Is he your favorite rapper?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you fuck with hip hop or just MF Doom?
I do like it here and there. You know, I grew up on 90s shit like Tupac and Snoop and fucking West Side Connection.
Dude, West Side Connection is G.
DMX, you know?
Dude,
we actually
I love DMX.
Friends of mine. Whoa, shit, sorry.
Whoa, bro.
Friends of mine and I actually made fake tickets to go see Cash Money and DMX, Cash Money Rough Riders tour.
Dude, what?
Yeah.
Was that when Lil Wayne was like 14?
He didn't show up though. He wasn't there.
What? He wasn't being
but I got
hot
to see,
boy.
Yeah, he wasn't. I really wanted to hear him go. What does it go? I forget that song right now, dude.
Dude, it was the fire. Well, there was before
the block
he was
is hot.
The block. Well, the block is hot. I think was before he was like Wheezy.
Right.
He was just Lil Wayne.
He was still Lil Wayne. Yeah, he's really young though.
Yeah, that was like the block is hot was his first, I think, big.
Right.
He was like 14 when he did that track.
Yeah, exactly. It was him on the end of like
the
fucking,
block is hot.
Yeah.
The block is hot.
But we all wanted to see Lil Wayne. And
Yeah.
Instead, we got to see DMX lowered in a cage, like barking and shit. Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Dude.
Bro, they started that show like 3 hours late.
3 hours?
3 hours late, dude.
Dude,
Like the crowd was getting rowdy.
I fucking saw 2 Chainz and he performed
Yeah.
on time and
course.
in a wheelchair.
What? See,
Yes.
2 Chainz is a pro, though, I hear.
Dude.
I hear he's a pro.
He's a fucking
Yeah.
G.
Yeah,
Young
I
Dolph
love...
is pretty cool.
Huh?
Young Dolph is pretty cool, too.
Oh, yeah? I don't know this person.
These are 2 gangster rappers that I've seen.
Oh, okay,
They're just like gangster rappers. Trap rappers.
Oh, okay, nice. Dude, you hear about that guy in the observatory that got like knocked out on stage?
Yeah, Triple X. He's
Is that
dead
it?
now.
I heard, actually, that's true, huh?
Yeah, dude.
Yeah.
I had that
These-
posted on
these
my
people-
fucking Instagram page too. Like, dude, homie
Holy
just
shit.
came up
That's-
and like knocked this dude.
That was like a level, dude.
like out, fucking out. But apparently, dude, I don't know anything about Extension. I think
Yeah.
that's what his name was.
Okay.
Triple X Extension. Yeah. I
yeah,
think it
whatever.
is.
Yeah.
But fuck, dude. Yeah, he got knocked out at the San Diego Observatory.
Yeah, that was
and
crazy.
It's like there's all these memes of people like, you got knocked the fuck out.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like
like
laughing,
Friday.
and then all of a sudden he actually died, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, dude. It's kind of those people
Fuck.
lead crazy lives, you know.
Dude, they do.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, it was what's shitty about that when that dude passed away. They fucking people were like filming it. He was like, who knows if he would have been able to be saved? Like he was just sitting
really?
there. Nobody even like checked on him. They were fucking just filming him.
What?
Yeah,
That's
and
so
he like
heavy.
he got shot outside of a car dealership in his car,
What?
like sitting in his car, and his head's just back.
Whoa.
And he had like these dudes apparently like ran up on him and just blasted him.
Damn, dude. It's so crazy if people get to that level, you know? And it's I can't imagine like living a life where that might be a threat. You know what I mean?
Dude, that's
Yeah.
like such a shitty way to live.
It's gnarly. And people do it, and then people go to war, and they have this camaraderie, and they go back to it. You know? What's up with that?
They love the crazy
yeah.
life.
Yeah, you know?
Mi vida loca.
Yeah, it's so nuts. But there's
Mi vida loco.
there's something about that survival. And like MF Doom has a song on the Victor Vaughn album where he basically talks about he has this character he plays through the whole I can't remember the song right now, but he has this character he plays where he's basically going around like committing little crimes, like robbing people, you know? He's like, what's the line? He's like, okay, miss, come up off that bracelet. Just got your hair did, don't make me waste it. You know? And he has this whole storyline. And at the end of the story, he tries to rob an old lady, but she pulls out a gun and shoots at him. And he says something like, damn, yo, she barely nicked the camo. I would have let her have it if I had the ammo, you know? So he's been bluffing this whole time, right?
Yeah.
And then he says something like, it's all in good fun. Or he says, as long as nobody gets hurt, it keeps the average civilian on point and alert, you know?
Jeez.
And I was like, damn, that's kind of true, though. You know what I mean? And that's why I think like cities like New York, they have that energy. You know, San Diego's pretty safe, I think. I don't really feel that same type of energy here.
It's not that city vibe the way the Bay Area or
totally.
New York is.
Yeah, totally.
I mean, until you've actually been to New York, you understand there's no other place like that,
Yeah.
at least in the United States. And when you go to the city in San Francisco, it's definitely a fast-paced city.
Totally.
But one time I saw, when I was working at this cafe in San Francisco, I was walking down the street with my homie Dan, Tall Man Dan, shout out if you're ever listening to this, Tall Man Dan. Dude, it's so funny. Me and him standing next to each other. I'm like up to his chest. As full as like, he was like 6'5", 6'7". I swear to God, bro. He's so fucking tall. Like,
That's right.
biggest skateboarder I've ever seen in my life. But he's the
There's not many of
sickest
those
dude.
guys.
Dude, sickest dude ever.
Nice.
And we're walking down, and I see one of the dudes who works at my cafe, and he totally didn't see me coming. I'm like, yo, I'm gonna fucking get this.
Oh my God.
And I was like, yo, I'm gonna get this guy right now.
No way.
And like, I don't know if it's a dick move, but I thought it was gonna be funny. And
Mm-hmm.
so like, he was with his girl, and I was just like, I ran up like super close, and I was like, yo, check full. And he was like, oh, and he like turned around, and he got so scared. And like,
Yeah, dude.
I was like, oh, yo, what's up, G? And he was like,
nice.
dude, you scared the fuck out of me.
Dude, totally. I had a moment like that when I was walking to see a show in the Tenderloin, and there were these like 3 gangster dudes leaning against the wall, and they were talking to each other. And right when I was walking past them, one of them like spun out and was like, "Oh hell no, where you going?" You know. But it happened to be in the middle of his story, and so he was spinning around to talk to someone else, but he came right in my path, and I totally jumped like that too. I was like, "What?" You know what I mean? And they didn't even notice me. You know what I mean? But I was just like, "Oh, dude, sudden movements, man. Watch out." Sometimes people are like that. But I also noticed that when I go to San Francisco and when I go to New York and I float there and I get out, I'm like, oh, it's like you experience everything a little bit differently. And this is kind of the thing that I think people are missing, you know? And like when you leave a float tank, all the effects are very subtle but profound. And you just have to kind of be paying attention. So I always encourage people to go do something like experiential or just do something that they wouldn't normally do. Like don't just go back to your life right away. You know, eventually you can do that, but your first few floats, like I remember the first few months of floating, I felt like every time I got out of the tank, I was so drained and I could just take a nap.
Yeah.
You know, that was
the
like
most comfortable nap ever.
Yeah, totally. And you know, so a lot of times I feel real lazy and we back then, this was like a volunteer program that I was going, I was a part of in Portland. So I'd float and kind of work there. And it got to a point where like, yeah, you could float while you were there, but you had to like clean up your own room and get out and be able to work, or else we weren't going to let you do it, type of thing. So I think I learned more and more to incorporate it into like a daily life. But your first few times, you just got to like cruise. So like you get out in a city like San Francisco, and there's like, you know, it's always windy at like 4.
You could definitely be walking down a fucking street, no wind, and then you walk around a corner and just a wind tunnel.
Totally. And all that stuff is made more special somehow after a float. You know, I think it changes your inner perception a little bit. It puts your rose-colored glasses on. And so, like, yeah, a goal of mine would be to get float tanks accessible in all these cities, these huge cities where people can, like, live. You know, it's kind of like centers of people is where everything comes out of. You know, it's where all, like, the newest trends and tech and everything. It's never being created, like, on a mountaintop somewhere. You know, and so if you can get more people in a mindset to just like live harmoniously and, you know, be more insulate and insulated in their own, you know, experience a little bit, I think floating does that for you. Like one of the first things I notice is I could take criticism way better right away.
Well, you're calm, dude.
You're calm. And I think like it distances yourself from an ego or an identity that you have. You're just more like open to options. And so then, like, I was taking criticism and I could just handle it, you know?
Oh, yeah.
So if you go out, maybe that guy in the elevator doesn't ask me if I need some fucking assistance, you know? He just hits, it's a worse story that way, but, you know.
I've been like, dude, it's all good.
Yeah,
dude. Don't
dude.
worry about
Yeah,
it. I'll press 10. I'll press 10. Not a big deal. Cool.
Pardon me, sir. Let me just get to my number here.
Dude,
yeah.
I can't even... After a float for me, bro, it's next level.
Yeah, it's so good, right?
It might not feel good the next day, but it's always like 2 days later.
Oh,
my
okay.
float is like,
oh, interesting.
I could just feel the transformation, like
really?
the stress relief.
It takes 2 days later you feel it the most. It's almost like working out and you're most sore the second day.
Yeah.
Huh, crazy.
That's just for me though.
That's cool. That's everybody's experience is a little bit different, I think.
What, you've been floating for how many years now?
Like 10, I think.
What now benefit do you get from floating?
Right now I'm kind of in an unwinding stage because of my getting hit by that car. I think it threw me out of whack.
How recently was that?
That was like 3 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah. And, I didn't go to the hospital or anything. I didn't get physical therapy. I just broke my nose and just went about life, you know. And
what about the gash on your head? You didn't get it stitched up?
They stitched it up. Well, actually, did they? That's a good question. They must have. No, because I never had. No, I don't think they did.
You just had like a scab?
Yeah, a big one. And I still have like a little scar here. It's pretty not visible, but you can see it there. It's like a little Harry Potter lightning scar.
Shut the
Yeah, it's very fitting. And so where's I going with this? Oh yeah, so I'm in sort of an unwinding stage again.
Okay.
So that's what I get out of it a lot is like tension relief, and like I love this moment. I feels like my spine kind of sits off center in my neck, so like one vertebrae is just like way off to the right or the left or whatever. And sometimes I can imagine that back into place, and it makes this like disgusting grinding noise that feels so good. It's like a tectonic type of movement.
Tectonic.
Yeah, you know what I
Jeez.
mean? And it
Yeah.
and it like underwater it sounds so gnarly. Like when your joints pop underwater,
Oh, dude.
doesn't it sound crazy?
Super gnar.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
like this is like this weird grinding in my neck. The first time I heard it, I thought I was hurting myself, but it felt so good.
Dude, my neck pops every single time.
Oh,
I'm on
it's
the float
nice,
tank.
dude.
Every time.
Yeah, and it's nice. What I like about it too is that you kind of have a foot in each door. So when you come back out to reality, you have an idea of what it felt like in there. So you can carry that physical awareness with you. You know, I catch myself adjusting all the time, being like, oh, that's not how it feels in the tank. You know, this like hip is out of place, or I'm putting on my weight here or whatever. I start to notice my movement and become more aware of like my postures and everything.
I feel like when you're breathing and you're floating, you're definitely, you can feel tension. Like when they say like in yoga, with like, where's your tension?
Oh yeah,
You can
breathe
feel
into it.
Yeah, breathe into it. I
yeah.
feel in floating, your body starts to naturally notice where the pain is
Oh,
and
yeah.
start to unwind.
Totally.
And it like, that's where the popping comes from.
Oh
It's
yeah,
like
it's the
fucking-
best.
It's pretty
Yeah.
legit.
We had a client at Float North County who would talk about lying very, very, very still and feeling like somebody was working on her. And I think it's that, like what you were talking about, how you kind of, am I doing this? Am I not? You know, the cat cow thing. She felt like somebody was in there like pulling her around, you know, and she had been in a car accident, and I think her head went through a windshield, bro, in like the 50s or 60s.
I think Glenn was telling me about this chick. She would do like 2-hour ones.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she got rid of all her doctors within a year. She'd been seeing a doctor every day or something like that, or like, you know, every week for the last like 40 years. And then in floating, she just like started to feel this unwinding happen. And, you know, and she was like so awesome. And her husband actually wouldn't come, and he was kind of salty when he first started coming, but then like he would get out and have this like, man, I remember he had this face he made when he'd get out, and he always looked to me like almost like a cartoon, like bird kind of guy. He'd come out, dude, and he'd have this like bird like kind of grin. He's so happy, dude, and he's so stoked when he got out of the tank. And at first he was super resistant to it.
Yeah.
But his wife eventually dragged him in, and then he started coming every day. Like he would float for an hour and she would float for 2 or whatever.
Dude.
Yeah, so it's really cool. It's really cool to see that. But I think that's kind of what the tank does for people. You know, it really puts you in touch with you. And when you clear all that bullshit out of the way, you get to focus on what's going on with you. That's why I let my mind wander, you know. And if it settles on something, I go, oh, this must be important. You know, if I can't get if it doesn't just wear itself out, or some idea just doesn't make its way out the door,
Yeah.
then you start to get that insight on it. And as you get that mental de-stressing, you get the physical de-stressing, and then the physical creates the mental, and it's this excellent positive feedback loop that happens in there. And if I could find a way, one of my lofty goals to make this really accessible to people, and this is a super lofty goal, anyone wants to help me on this idea, please, for the love of God, I think you can make floating a religion. I think you can make float tanks like a meta religion.
What are
Yeah,
you
now listen to
talking
this.
about?
Yeah, listen to this. I think you can make it a meta religion. So basically,
What does that mean?
so you know, like what a non-denominational church is? Have you ever been to one of those?
Like, doesn't matter who's your God, just come and hang out.
That too. The ones that I went to when I was younger, my mom married a guy in the Army, and we got put on different Army bases. So I lived on Fort Knox for a little bit, and then also on an Air Force base in Germany. And
What the fuck?
yeah, and the one in Germany is when I was really young.
This is after you lived in like born and raised in Costa
Yeah,
Mesa.
so my mom married this guy, and then in 5th grade I was in Kentucky, and then 6th grade I was in Germany, and 8th grade I was in Germany. The 7th I was back here.
Wait.
So I do like a year on and off with my parents like that.
So 7th grade you were here.
Mm-hmm.
8th grade you were in Germany.
Yeah, exactly. And in 6th grade I was probably still being forced to go to church. So we would go to this church that was non-denominational, which meant that like 9 a.m. was Protestant and 10 a.m. was Catholic and 11 a.m. was whatever. And it all happened under one roof, you know?
Did they all? It sounds like a stupid question because I don't know a lot about religion, but did they all pray to Jesus?
All these people did, yeah.
Okay.
It's just like, but a
Different variations.
yeah,
of
you
them.
know, you have Baptists, you have fucking
Lutherans.
Lutherans, whatever. Mormons pray
Yeah.
Jesus. It's just the Mexican Jesus. You know what I mean?
Mormons play to a Mexican Jesus?
Well, the Book of Mormon is the story of Jesus reappearing in Mexico for 3 days. 3 days he was gone from the cave before he rose
Is
again.
that for real?
I swear to God, dude. You've never seen that South Park?
What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I have to see this.
Yeah. It's good. It's a good book. And
I
the
thought
play,
it was John Smith was Mormons.
he's the guy who figured all this out. He read the book.
So John Smith found out that Jesus came back.
He was in Mexico for a few days.
Mexico for a few days, and then came back to Utah.
He came. I think he read it in like a. You should really see, man. Oh, bro,
it's called the Book of Mormon.
The Book of Mormon, yeah, and not only that, the Book of Mormon play is happening right downtown in San Diego right now.
Right now?
Right now, dude. If you've never seen the show, I've seen it twice. It is fucking hilarious.
I have to see it.
Dude, I might go tomorrow. I'll hit you up if I go. I just remembered that.
Dude, what?
So my idea here is that what I can do as a float tank center, or more importantly, as a float tank.
I thought you said you couldn't talk about it.
No. This is just a lofty idea.
Oh, okay,
and like everyone I tell this to thinks I'm crazy. So, and my opinion now is if my ideas that I have, a lot of them are crazy. But sometimes if they get met with like kind of an irrational objection, or at least what I view as an irrational objection, I go, oh, this must be a great idea. You know, so many of my ideas that I've had in my life have been shot down by people only to be implemented later.
Yeah.
You know, so now that's kind of
people are essentially taking your ideas,
or not. They're just shooting them down when they're not ready for them and adapting them later, not even knowing, not even remembering. This has happened to me a lot, and so now when people meet my ideas with a lot of rejection, I like to talk about them more. This is one of them. This idea of making a religion, because I think this is probably the best way to make float tanks affordable and available to everybody. Is my idea. And if I make a meta church, which basically means that I'm providing a space where you can come to no matter what you are. You know, if you're a Muslim, if you're Buddhist, if you're Hindu, if you're Christian, if you're Mormon, if you're Baptist, it doesn't matter. You can get in the float tank and you can get more connected with whatever that is. And my opinion is that if you get connected with that and like in a true way, kind of free of ego and judgment in an environment like the float tank would provide, where no one is like influencing you on what to think, then that will be a positive change. And here in San Diego, I've even had people come out that have like traditional Christian experiences. They're like, I saw angels, I talked to Jesus, whatever. They have these experiences, you know, and I don't have them, right? But I have all kinds of crazy shit that happens to me in there that no one will believe. Yeah. So who would I, you know, and it honestly doesn't matter. They're fucking stoked, you know, and if whatever happens to you in there, if you're stoked on it, you know, and it doesn't like fuck my gear up, I'm good.
Fuck your gear up?
Yeah, like if you don't ruin the tank and you have a great time in there, then you're good. You know, whatever happens.
It's all good, man.
Yeah, so developed this idea of a church. And then I think like, okay, now if I can make a church, then I can go have like parishes essentially. And I can make these float centers that are like...
Are you trying to do like a tax-free religion?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And 100% of what I would do
You want to start your own religion.
Yeah, and so this is what I want to do with it too. So what I would like to do is I would call it the Church of the Void. All right, it's the Church of the Void. And the Church of the Void has all these places. And what we do with our taxes that we don't pay anymore because we're a religion is we take like whatever percentage, like I would like to make it a majority, like 60%. I'd take 60% of the taxes that I kept from, you know, that I didn't have to pay, and I'd donate them locally. I'd be like, oh, the city's not taking care of your streets? I'll fix the potholes. You know, like this restaurant that everybody loves in the neighborhood needs a new oven. Boom, you got it, you know, and just start doing become a pillar of the community, right? And then I would like to put pressure on the prosperity gospel people and just start calling them out like UFC style. You know what I mean? Yeah, just like calling these fools out and being like, look, we are taking this little money that we're making and doing good with it. And these guys are asking you for jets so they don't have to go ride with demons, you know, in first class.
They're talking about jets.
Have you not heard this? You don't know what prosperity gospel is?
No. I've never heard of this.
You know what it is, dude. It's all the televangelists that say, like, send me your money and Jesus will love you.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? You've seen them. They've been on TV for years.
Okay, those guys.
Yeah, those guys. Yeah, so there's bunches of them out there now.
They have jets?
Oh, yeah. They fly around private jets. They're total tax havens that are taking advantage. And this is my opinion. And I'm sure they'll argue me to the death, and I hope they do. I hope they die doing it, bro.
Dude,
like, I'll fucking argue.
Crossed the threshold.
Yeah. So my idea is to start this church and do these types of things. You know, my opinions are also motivated by like my kind of radical beliefs, you know. And right now what I think is happening with the world in general is that rich people have created loopholes for themselves to exist and do whatever it is they want. and the rest of us are kind of left to fight over crumbs and are kind of fucked with, and a lot of this comes through tax loopholes. So I would just love to make tax loopholes available to everybody, like, wouldn't that be the jam? Like if you had like a peasant hedge fund, like what if you could hide all your money offshore and have access to it like rich people did, but you didn't have to pay the taxes on it like rich people don't, that would change everything, I think.
Well, yeah.
You know what I mean? And so I would, obviously these are incredible lofty goals that I have no fucking clue how to implement, but I would like to put them out there so that somebody can help me make it happen.
Jeez.
Yeah. So I have this whole idea. Church of the Void, I think, is a great idea. I think that is so feasible. And if you can create a religion called whatever fucking Pastafarianism, you know about that shit?
No, bro.
It's a legit recognized religion where they worship like the flying spaghetti monster. Even John Oliver created his own religion for a little bit of time through his HBO show. So it's not like it's difficult, So I just need a little help.
Dude, You're going to fucking start a religion.
I wish, dude, because then I think to myself, well, then maybe I could find a way to make existing float centers qualified in some way to be partially a church, or like, nonprofit. Save money on their margins so they can do better. And then we can get more tanks in the world. Or just start churches that have float tanks in them. You know what I mean? And just like have a tax-free building that you own where you can run floats for like fucking $15 or whatever. Dude. And you know what I mean? You have volunteer labor, and all you got to do is like read from a book on a Sunday or some shit. Who cares? Let's just make that happen so people can float,
Well, I guess that's the only real way to make money is what L. Ron Hubbard
That's
said.
what I'm saying, man. He was onto something.
Dude. All right, well, dude, it's been an hour and 43.
Okay.
Let's wrap this up.
Okay. Do you have anything else on this list? I know we've gone on a lot of tangents, so I know you wanted to talk about certain things.
No, dude, we talked about everything that I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. I wanted to get on it, and we fucking got on it.
Hey, man, it's super fun coming out here. I like doing this shit. And, if you listen to this later and you need more info on floating, dude, I'm always down. I'm always down to talk to people about it. I'd really like to see, like I said, more and more people get in these tanks because it's done so much for me. And if we can get more, my ultimate goal would be to like float all the peasants and all the politicians. Okay. And then I think we can make it a better place. So I'll sit here and proselytize to you anytime you will have me.
Dude.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. Tell the people where they can find you.
Probably just on my Instagram, which is @barelyregal.
Barelyregal.
Everything else is kind of in the works. So
all right.
It's barely_regal. Don't be alarmed by the crazy eyes in the picture.
All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Dude, anytime.
Peace.
Later.